At NAB in Las Vegas, BirdDog announced 14 new products. We try to get through them all. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide sends employees important, timely, and relevant security recommendations for their Linux, Mac, and Windows devices, right inside Slack. Meet compliance objectives in a remote-first world without resorting to rigid device management. Try Kolide for 14 days free. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to sign up today. That's KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Enter your email when prompted to receive your free Kolide gift bundle after trial activation. Kolide.com/MacVoices. MacVoices is in Las Vegas for NAB. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, we're back at the BirdDog booth talking to Eamon about everything they've announced this year. I'm not sure I have enough battery life to talk about everything they've announced this year, so we're going to get them to try to go through it all quick. Eamon, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you, Chuck, and thanks for dropping by. Yeah, so we've announced 6 new hardware products, 8 new software products. It's been a huge show for us, but on top of that, we've also announced, I think it's 20 or 30 feature updates for free for existing customers as well. So yeah, we've been innovating pretty hard over in Australia. Yeah, it's been a busy time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we haven't been together for 3 years now, so you had plenty of time. But all those new products, can you break them down by category? Or?
Yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you because we've been in lockdown during the pandemic. When you lock down your engineers, they've got nothing else to do except make products, right? So here we are. Anyway, yeah. So let's start with hardware. We've got 6 new hardware products. We've got 2 new cameras, the P110 and the P120. So they're full NDI cameras, but we're also supporting some of the high efficiency codecs, so HX2, HX3, SRT, and then they're cloud connected. So I'll jump into cloud connected a little bit more later, but basically all of our devices are getting a free update that makes them able to be connected globally to our cloud platform without the need for a computer on the send side. So that's really interesting. That's a free update coming to all of our cameras and hardware and converters and basically everything we make. So they're the 2 new cameras. They've got some other features like an OLED screen on the front, which makes it really easy to identify the IP address, for example. They've got tally lights. There's 4 outputs on the P110 and P120. So there's the IP, so NDI, HX and SRT and all those formats. There's SDI and HDMI, so they can be used in a traditional baseband video workflow. They've also got USB UVC, which means they can be plugged into Teams and Zoom, so you can have a really high quality Zoom or Teams camera as well. And that's the same sensor and image module that the NBA use to go live to air on ESPN as the referee camera. So you can have one of those now in your boardroom for under $2,000, so we think that's pretty compelling as well. On top of that, we've announced an Open Gear card. So we've got the world's first NDI Open Gear card, which is 4 channels of NDI in 4K P60 encode and 2 channels of 4K P60 NDI decode. It's either in or out, and it can do 1080p in both ways in 4 channels. It's got full ROS dashboard support, so you just throw it in your ROS frame and control it with the ROS interface to set up your connections and all that sort of thing. So yep, so that's ready to go. That'll be shipping in about 8 weeks, I think. So hopefully I'll get that right. We've also announced some monitor recorders. So we won an award for these from Videomaker yesterday for Best Recorder Monitor, which is pretty huge considering there's some big names that make monitor recorders. So basically we've got 2 models. We've got a Core 5 and a Core 7. It's a 5.5 inch and a 7 inch monitor. They do dual NDI encode and dual NDI decode. They've got high bright screens, so they're daylight viewable. We also can do NDI HX2, HX3, SRT, RTMP and RTSP, which are streaming formats to go to social media channels. And we also do HEVC and HEVC 422 10-bit. So plenty of options. It's got a USB slot on the top for recording. It's got physical buttons, and we went with physical buttons as a design choice because there's 3 problems that appear on touchscreen monitors. The first is you get fingerprints on the monitor, which is not great when you're trying to look at the video. The second problem is when you're touching the monitor, you can't see the monitor because your hand's in the way. And the third problem is there's no muscle memory. So with buttons, a camera operator knows what the button second from the right does. You can just touch it without having to think about it too much. So they're the 3 things that we think we've solved by putting buttons on the monitor. There's a ton of other features as well. So they do dual NDI encode and dual NDI decode. So you can use them just as an encoder or decoder to send to your workflow. They have SFP plus ports on them, so you can send over fibre directly out of the units for long runs, for great for sports if there's a camera on the other side of the football field, stuff like that. What else are we missing? Oh, and the 7-inch monitor has an Ethercon connector as well, which is a locking connector, sort of like XLR, so you can lock the Ethernet port, and it's also got balanced XLR audio as well. So, yep. So they'll be shipping towards the end of the year. We're showcasing them here at the show, and we're really excited about those. So that's. Oh, and the last piece of hardware as well. We've not been able to get the unit here itself because FedEx have not delivered on time. So yeah, unfortunately it's not here. But we've got a new product called Pod, and Pod basically takes any NDI source and then presents it out as USB webcam or USB UVC. And then that means you can take any NDI webcam or any NDI camera and then just pump it straight into Zoom and Teams. So that's really cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, so that's $199. It's called Pod. It'll be shipping. Where are we now? April. It should be shipping early Q3, so somewhere in the July to September timeframe. So that's all of the hardware, I think. Yes, that's a lot of the hardware. It's hard to keep up. The 8 new software products we've announced. So the first one we've announced is a new version of Central. So we've got our routing application called Central. So there's now Central Lite, Central Pro, and Central Enterprise, and that's really designed for everyone from just basic NDI routing where you need to send some NDI sources to some NDI receivers, whether that's our decoders or someone else's, it doesn't matter. And then we've got the Pro version, which has got a few more features, and then Enterprise is basically an enterprise grade piece of software designed for unlimited sources, grouping. You've got media players and things like that built in, and that's designed for true broadcasters. And we've had really great feedback so far about that one. The really nice thing about the new version of Central is what I'm saying as the marketing guys, we've decentralized it. So what I mean by that is it's browser based. So you just open it on any browser that's attached to the network. So that can be an iPad, a laptop, anything, and you can start doing your routing from within that browser interface. We've also announced Camera Director. So Camera Director is kind of hard to explain, but we had a request from a really big customer in Norway for our outdoor cameras for horse racing. And so what they want to do is put the cameras around the track, have each camera have its own preset motion path, and then as it hits a waypoint where the horses are coming around the track, go into the next preset. So basically it's like having a playlist of presets for each camera that plays out in unison. That's the easiest way to describe it. So that's been really well received. That'll be shipping really soon. It's basically ready. We've got it on the stand now, so I think early Q, where are we now? April, so yeah, it should be really in Q2, I think. What else we got? I'm just looking on the stand. There's so much to talk about, I keep forgetting everything. Oh, we've got an Adobe plugin for Cloud Connect. So that lets you collaborate on real-time editing workflows. So basically you can play directly out of Adobe software, Premiere for example, and then connect to that anywhere in the world on a laptop or something like that. You can have a side-by-side view, so you can have the editing timeline with the full screen output as well. And so the idea behind that is you can have a producer or something like that, say in Hong Kong. You got your editor sitting in his dark edit suite in Burbank, Hollywood, and they can collaborate in real time on a project without the need for being in the same room. So it's really designed for that over-the-shoulder editing feeling, but without being in the same room. So that's the thought behind that. Just looking around, we've got some new features for cloud as well. So we've launched a new Cloud 3.0. It's on sort of beta demo at the moment, but it's a completely overhaul of our interface now. That actually leads us into the cloud kind of connection thing. So what we're doing is we're adding a firmware update to all of our hardware devices, which is FPGA implementation. So it's in the silicon, which means you can connect to all of our devices anywhere in the world without the need for a computer on the send side. As long as you've got an internet signal, you can send it to cloud, and then you can control cameras, change settings, all that sort of stuff from anywhere in the world on an iPad or on a computer or something like that. So that's really exciting for us. That's an announcement. That firmware will be coming out sometime in Q3, we expect. For cameras, though, we've also got a firmware update coming imminently. Basically, it'll be in a couple of weeks straight after the show. That adds NDI 5 support, which includes RUDP, so that's the new reliable UDP protocol, which we highly recommend for NDI workflows, by the way. It's really great. And it also adds, we're going to add in 3D. So 3D is the PDZ camera positioning system that then lets you talk to applications like Unreal Engine, VizRT, you've got some software that supports it, and various other products. And then that allows you to create that like AR, VR kind of workflow where, you know, you've got things flying out of the floor and all that, or like a virtual set that's actually 3D and it's moving around with the PDZ camera, but the people aren't moving. So yeah, we're really excited about 3D, and that'll be a free update for all of our cameras. I think I've basically covered it, Chuck. I think
Is that all?
I think we might be there. Yeah.
Somebody get this man oxygen, please.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. Yeah. Yep.
So I know in that dissertation, you mentioned, you know, the boardroom.
Yep.
You mentioned, you know, connectivity with Zoom or
Yep.
integration with Zooms.
Yep.
How much did the pandemic affect the way you guys approached product development?
Yeah, it is a great question. So we've got a really strong partnership with Zoom, and they're actually on our booth as well. And they were one of the drivers behind the pod that I mentioned earlier, which is, you know, the NDI to USB webcam. So in terms of the pandemic, we're seeing. Look, I don't think it's any secret that production is moving from being baseband video to IP video. That was always going to happen, right? But I think what we weren't expecting is that to move so quickly into cloud-based production, and that's why we're getting behind all of these high-efficiency codecs such as SRT and, you know, 264 and HX and things like that, because a lot of people are going to start doing their productions in the cloud, whether that's an AWS instance or a Google Cloud instance, and running, you know, things like vMix or TriCaster and all that sort of thing in the cloud, and they need camera feeds. So what our sort of strategy and our desire is not to ever make that software that does the production, but to be the on-ramp or the off-ramp between, you know, baseband video and this cloud-based production. So things like the OpenGear card we see as being a really strong driver for that for some of the larger organisations. But really, any of our hardware, once we add this new Silicon 2 firmware update, will be able to become that on-ramp or off-ramp for these cloud-based workflows. Yeah.
So that's a lot of products. That's a lot of features. Where should we send folks to learn more? Because I'm not, you know, we can't possibly go through the prices of everything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just head to birddog.tv. So it's BIRDDOG .tv.
Great.
Yeah.
I'll see you back here next year for what, 20 or 30 more products?
Let's hope so. I don't think we've got that in us, but we've got a few more things coming down the track. So yeah.
Great. Well, I look forward to it.
Cool. Thanks, John.
Good to see you.
Good
Thank
to
you
see
so
as
much.
always. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Folks, more from NAB in Las Vegas. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.